In 2016, Brie Larson won an Oscar for a movie I've never even heard of. Not too long afterwards, things would astronomically change between then and now. I really don't know what transpired or what happened only a year later. This Brie Larson would change into just another representative of the hostile rhetoric that has been going on for the past few years. I also don't know how she became or when she became so morally corrupted by the Hollywood hateful cult, but a tweet would be the start of just how telling and destructible her views would become in a short time, or present day Brie and just how she feels about anyone she deems beneath her. Although it's not a lot, there are a few examples throughout this video I've brought together to show just how much of a contradictive, sexist, and just downright egotistical snobby harlot for the NPCs Brie has become, and why her playing Captain Marvel, or rather Captain SJW, is almost as bad as hiring Roundhead Johnson for The Last Jedi. All these people are nothing but attention whores. Anyways, so the tweet goes something like this. As you can see, one of her minions chimed in below, but I don't have Twitter and I'm not about to take the time to show everything that was said, but if anyone is curious, they can seek out that tweet themselves, if you haven't already. You know, back in high school, there were people like this all the time, and it just wasn't in my area, but it was all throughout this country as well, and I'm pretty sure it even occurred overseas. These individuals feel compelled to just always put down anyone they wanted to, just because of who they hang out with, and most likely due to their popularity. Not all, but most. It's almost like when you go up to a girl or a guy who you think is pretty or good looking or whatever, and you say something, heck, you maybe even ask them out, and they act all nice to you, but in reality they are both just two-faced stuck-up bitches and tells anyone within their little group of what they actually thought about being hit on. But that was high school. Sadly, these same type of people use Twitter for their own personal soapbox. Now, some may look at this as just being harmless, but I believe it's an early sign of being a borderline sociopath. Then there'll be those who excuse and even condone this behavior, but I've personally seen it and studied it enough to understand the damage this causes. Was Brie always like this, and is her true colors just now showing? No, I think it goes beyond that, but I digress, for now. Many are aware of the division within the comic realm, with Marvel seemingly leading the charge and pushing their political nonsense. DC Comics does this as well, but I'll get to them at a later time, maybe. With Marvel, this narrative now seems to be transitioning over to the MCU. I don't have to go into specifics as to why there's a massive disconnect with Marvel and their fans. There are plenty of videos on that. I'm just here to bring a little truth and facts as to why Brie Larson is not only a terrible choice, but what one would refer to as a narcissistic SJW that has no regard for other human beings, which, ironically, is the same way that all these SJWs think. They are only self-serving and loyal to themselves, pretending to be a part of some kind of cause, when actually they are the main problem who cannot see beyond their own illusion that they're some kind of hero in their own self-righteous mind. Back to Marvel, though, who has had great success with their MCU, especially with the Infinity War, raking in lots of money, even if their actual comics aren't doing so well, but the folks over at Disney seem to turn a blind eye as long as they are making money somehow. Already there's been talk that if people do not see this movie, then you're sexist or whatever, without even pointing out the irony to it all, so I try to do it for those who would like to know what's really going on. Then there are several YouTube videos that showed an incident that occurred last year, but it's still worth pointing out that it was less than a year ago, at some award show, if you can even call it that, since they like to give awards to all these celebs and treat them all like deities, which sounds like another cult. Apparently, at some award show called Crystal and Lucy or some BS, I really don't know or care what it represents. All I know is Brie Larson made sure everyone in that audience and everyone who was watching knew just what she thinks about white dudes, which she also recently mentioned, or something to that degree. I would love to show the actual full video, but it almost seems washed away from the net, although I do believe the video is still up on Variety to show just what is being said. A few YouTube channels covered it, but what's more telling is the number of sites that actually wrote about it. Here are a few, with Time and Vox showing the show sites that they really are, along with IndieWire trying to make sure that there's some sort of editorial correction, I guess. Fast forward to now, and Captain Marvel is set to come out, and there's already been some backlash since Marvel is pushing this narrative that she's the only one that will save the MCU. Well, probably more likely destroy it. At first, being a comic book fan, it was a little disconcerting, then I found it to be more hilarious just how badly they want people to watch this movie, with what seems like a lot of merchandise backing it.
Where the real money from the movie is made.
Even Disney's CEO talked about how there might be an actual Captain Marvel theme park, only to later delete this. It's all disturbing though, but anyone who can think for themselves knows that this is just another way for them to try to indoctrinate everyone like they tried doing with the Star Wars movies, that you have to accept this Mary Sue notion into your mental state, and also you need to accept whatever they tell you to. But that still didn't stop them from coming up with great ideas for their marketing, which you could tell didn't take much effort. While some may dismiss this idea that Marvel or Disney stole this image, I believe there's more than enough comparisons between the two, at least in my eyes. The question is, why was this particular image stolen when there are plenty, and I do mean plenty of images all throughout the net? Of course you have some of those who have this belief that their opinion is the only one that matters above everyone else's. Regardless if they've only seen the trailers, they want to project this idea that it's going to be one of the greatest movies, if not the greatest movie from the MCU. If you don't agree with any of this logic, then you'll get extremely well thought out tweets like this, since Twitter has become a wasteland for SJWs to poison everyone with their psychotic mentality. Although lots of YouTube channels cover that already, I'm just here to add more to the hypocrisy, and Marvel seems to be desperately pushing their first female superhero movie. But don't take my word for it. Let's look at an SJW review, which I won't add everything that was written, but it's enough to show her pushing for some disgusting ideology to have some sort of gay representative in a comic book movie. Of course, all you gotta do is look at the surroundings of the site, and you can see this mindset. Now, maybe she wants to see all that, but I sure as heck don't want any of this in anything that's comic book related. I mean, there are kids watching, and this outlook just shows how sickening these people are. Even though there are a number of these characters, with some even being added and even created for those horrendous CW shows. It's the gatekeepers at networks like the CW who only listen to the ramblings from ignorant articles such as this and are all for pushing this mentally ill narrative, since most of the other TV networks are biased towards any kind of truth, but if you call them out on any of their BS, they'll use whatever derogatory terminology to pigeonhole people in who don't agree with their agenda. Then you have her Black Panther statement, who, like many that praise the film, almost worshipping it like some sort of savior of some kind, to take whatever was in the movie, yes, it's only a movie, as gospel, and that everyone needs to follow this blind notion, and anything that came before it should be ignored. Notice how she threw her sister in there to try to justify this perception. I guess the entire Blade trilogy didn't count. Or how about that Spawn movie? I cannot predict who'll see or not see this movie, but I wanted to try to shed some light for those who are still sleepwalking, which I can only do by showing the bit of info I've came across. I will say this though, with the first initial screenings having taken place not too long ago, there are already a number of articles that are doing nothing but praise for that stupid ass cat over what is supposed to be a representation of a supposed superhero. If this is going on, then there's something seriously wrong with your movie. Since then, Brie has done more damage than good, especially if she wants anyone to watch it. And this is what girls and women are supposed to look up to and want to be like? My advice is to keep your daughter far away from ever wanting a role model like Captain SJW. The only one she should ever look up to is you, the parent.
So what would it take for the critic pool to match this 30-30-2020 real-world breakdown, and how can we get there? Well, here I am. It's easier than you might think. The bottom line is that if each of the top 100 films in a year added 9 critics that are 3 underrepresented males, 3 white females, 3 underrepresented females, and the average critic pool would match the US population in just 5 years. Super simple.
What the hell did you just say?
Well, for all of us here at Channel 4 News, I'm Ron Burgundy. You stay classy, San Diego.
And thanks for stopping by.
But mainly, stay classy.
Thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy, I'm Ron Burgundy.
Thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy. Ron Burgundy.